Hello everyone, welcome back to Powerful Nothing, a Magic the Gathering Cube podcast. I'm your host Dan, and as always, I'm joined by James. James, we have some hot off the press news this week. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, we're super topical this week.
Potentially, this might be the biggest news for Cube like this year, and that news is that Powered Cube is coming to Arena. The Arena Powered Cube has been announced last week at time of recording. We've seen a bit of gameplay from LSV, Paul Chion, and a couple of other pros / content creators, and it's coming out really soon. And importantly, we've also had the full list spoiled. So we are planning on doing like a deep dive into the cube once we've actually got our hands on it, and once we're a bit more comfortable in terms of what's good and and do like a level up episode, that kind of stuff. But this is effectively our first impressions of the Arena Powered Cube. We'll jump into all the details in a sec, but kind of like, James, what are your initial thoughts on them bringing Powered Cube to Arena?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Mostly, from my point of view, I prefer drafting on Arena versus Mitgo, but I don't massively care. And but I think it's really cool because a whole bunch of people who have never cast any of these awesome old cards before will get to do that in a game of Cube, and that's pretty awesome. All the Arena kids have never been balanced before in their lives, and they're not going to know what's at them. But hopefully they have fun as well.
No, exactly. That's why I said that this is potentially the biggest news of the year, just because the amount of people that this opens Cube up to, because it's not just from a play point of view, it's also, this is what all the people who make stuff about Magic are going to be talking about for a while. So it's audiences. It's just the amount. Cube is never going to have more eyes on it than now because of this, and it's a fantastic thing. And for all its benefits of keeping Cube alive online, MitGo is clunky as hell. MitGo is a tool that we have to use, not one that we like using. Arena, it is a modern designed app, and now our favorite format is going to be represented on it at the highest level, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And it's obviously there have been a bunch of cubes on Arena before, but they've all been very much here are some cards from the last 5 years, right? And it is fundamentally a different thing when you get to play with cards from across the whole history of Magic. And sure, they've been drip feeding in old cards bit by bit, but with this update, we've seen a huge amount of really iconic old cards just get dropped onto Arena all at once. And that's really good to see.
Exactly. And it's also in terms of the jump that you're talking about, we know their goal up until now was to get Pioneer onto Arena. As far as we were aware before this, there was no plan to get Modern or C or Vintage, any of the Eternal formats where a lot of these cards sit. But they've we'll get into the how they got to this point in the episode. But basically, they just kind of shortcutted all of that and just programmed what are the 540 cards we need to get a Powered Cube. What is already here? What do we need to add to that? And that's what they spent a couple of years doing. And now we have a Powered Cube on Arena, and that's awesome. But let's talk about the facts first. We will go over the list, but let's just talk about what actually is happening for those unaware. This will be a limited time event to begin with. Basically, this is going to, as James mentioned, they do cubes on Arena, and effectively this is this season's version of a cube. So we've had the chromatic cube on Arena before. Now we have a Powered Cube. So it starts at 8 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday, October 28th, and it lasts until 8 a.m. Pacific on Tuesday, November 18th. So that means it's up for 3 whole weeks. Everyone, you get 3 weeks of Powered Cube. It will be Phantom Draft, like most cubes. Yes, unfortunately, you have to give the cards back. But segue, these cards, I think, are now on Arena, so they are available in timeless formats, that kind of stuff. So Gladiator is the singleton version of is the Canadian Highlander alternative. That's pretty hot, getting all these cards. We like that. In terms of availability of drafts, there will be best of 1 available. So first to 7 wins or 3 losses, or classic best of 3 is available where you can play your 3 matches. It will cost 10,000 gold or 1,500 gems or a 1-player draft token, which I've not played Arena in a while. I'm not massively sure what that is, but you can pay one of those. In terms of real-world money, You can buy 1,600 gems, so 100 gems more than the cost of a draft, for $9.99, or £9.99 because they did not bother with the conversion. They just hate the UK players. There are deals available, obviously, if you buy a large amount of gems, but just I'm not going to get into the arena economics of things. But that $9 to $10 mark, to be fair, is roughly what the Vintage Cube costs on MitGo. There are rewards, there are payouts. So the key number is, if you want to chain these together and if you want to go infinite, you need 5 wins for best of 1 or 3 wins for best of 3. But they are scaled up to that. So you do kind of get some gems back for 4 wins. You will get more for 5+ wins and that kind of stuff. James, initial thoughts on that? From my end, I think it compares comparatively to MitGo. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think VEV is pretty similar. So I think the MitGo queues is 2-1 is a wash. You get your entry fee back, and then 3-0 you get a bunch of stuff. I think value-wise, this is roughly equivalent. So much more relevant to how long you'll be able to keep drafting for off of your initial 10 quid, or however much you want to put in, is going to be how soft or otherwise these queues are. The big difference between Arena and MitGo is Arena has ranked play. So obviously you start in bronze, and if you win, you go up to silver and gold and mythic. And see, when you're in mythic, the competition is really tough. When you're in bronze, it's really not. But it will only be ranked, I believe, for the best of 1. So the best of 3 will be unranked. Going off how normal Arena queues are, and as someone who I draft very intermittently on Arena, so often, like if I come to a new format, I'm starting in bronze again. The bronze queues will be really soft because it will be people who do not really know how a lot of these cards are going to play. I think if you're listening to this podcast, you'll probably know the cards better than most people in bronze and will have a really big edge. As you rank up, it will get tougher. And in Mythic, it's people are really good in Mythic. Like if you're top 100, top 1,000, even Mythic, the competition's really, really tough. It's much tougher than anything you'll face on MitGo. So it's something to bear in mind. I guess if you're really wanting to optimize value, you could switch to best of 3, which is unranked when you are no longer able to go positive. But I know playing against good people is kind of more fun. So I really like that it's ranked personally.
No, I think that's good. Basically what I've learned from that is I've been rewarded for not logging into Arena for the past year and a half.
Yeah, kind of. They spot you some wins.
I will get to it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It'll be good for the first couple of videos I make because I can in theory do well before I get steamrolled by.
But you'll So in bronze, it's like most people are really haven't drafted a ton, but then you also run into people who are haven't drafted in a couple of months but do know what they're doing. So it's always a mix. But yeah, in general, I think most people will be able to have a decent record in the bronze queues.
No, exactly. So a bit of history on this is that so there was a dev diary. We'll put all the links to all the articles we talk about in the show notes below. There's a dev diary released by Alex Werner, where basically this came from an internal hackathon. From the sounds of it, basically he kind of started designing a couple of cards. You'll love this, James. The first card from a list he had. They programmed into Arena was Fast Bond.
Oh, that's a great choice.
Big fan of James. And then did Dak Faden.
Then
basically asked his higher ups, is this something you want? And unsurprisingly, they said yes. So I think for about a year and a bit now, they've just been slowly plugging away. Basically, just they looked at the cards that were on Arena that C-powered cube play, that there's about 215 of them, meaning that there's about 200 or so cards that they would need to program to get into this slot. So effectively, they have programmed 200-odd cards specifically for this experience. That is a fair amount of work, but I personally think the rewards are probably going to be worth it. Well, for me anyway, I'm going to have a lovely time. But I am glad that they put the effort in, and this is kind of got me excited to come back to play Arena. So let's actually talk about the cube. So some very high-level initial impressions, first of all. So it's called the Arena Powered Cube. That means it is powered. Like, let's not be around the bush. The full Power 9 is in here. Soul Ring is in here. Mana Crypt is in here. Minsk and Boo is in here. It's all there. The fixing and the mana is very good. So I'll run through the mana base. There's OG Jewels, Fetch, Shock, Triome, Fast Lands, Surveil Lands, Verges, and Creature Lands. It doesn't look like they've customized the lands. Each color pair has that full wedge of lands. We have a full cycle of talismans, which is quite nice. So just initially on that, James, fixing we like. You should be able to do 3-4 colors pretty easily.
Yeah, fixing is actually slightly more plentiful than in the Modo Cube, for example. So the Modo Cube has 6 lands for each color pair. The Arena Cube has 7, slightly made up for by the Modo Cube has the basic land cyclers from Lord of the Rings, which the Arena Cube does not. But yeah, still right. It's more fixing. There's I think 103 lands versus 92 in the Modo Cube. So yeah, it's definitely potential to play a lot of colors.
Well, one thing you mentioned there, which is worth touching on, you mentioned no land cyclers from Lord of the Rings. That is because for this iteration anyway, there are no Universes Beyond cards in this cube. That is a choice they made for this version of the cube. They have said that they could bring them in the future. They've used this as like a way of differentiating it from the Mitgo Vintage Cube, but that's not like a design choice of this is how every version of this will be in the future. So yes, so there's no like Lord of the Rings cards in here, as James mentioned, but like that also means there's no like One Ring Bowmaster or Fourth Aelingus. There is like Through the Omen Path versions, which is I'm not gonna say weird, but like Reprieve is in here, which is a Lord of the Rings card, but because it was reprinted as a Through the Omen Path version in Spider-Man, that gets in. Little bit roundabout way oddness. Like some people were speculating beforehand, there might be like licensing deals involved in why they couldn't do it. I get the impression that it was a choice in the first iteration to not include Universes Beyond cards, partly because of the backlash that they've had recently.
Yeah, this feels a little bit like saying to a certain section of the Magic community, "We're sorry about Spider-Man here, have a thing."
But I'll be honest with you, it has kind of worked.
Yeah.
Like, I am more excited by this, and like we'll get like I know I have for later, but I think is relevant now. Is that what they've effectively done? Is like the makeup of this cube is like it's all the Modern Horizons cards, like all the busted Modern Horizons cards, like 1, 2, and 3. They're all in here. But then where you would normally see a Universes Beyond card, they've replaced it by effectively a card from the Mitgo Cube that has been power crept out from a few years ago. So like Raphelos is in this, like that kind of stuff. Like cards that are kind of like just been crept out of the Mitgo Vintage Cube because you have enough Universes Beyond cards now. Which like that isn't specifically a attack at Universes Beyond being higher power level cards. It's more there was a slot to fill. So it's like, well, what's the next one down? Oh, it's a slightly more boomer card, if that makes sense. And like there's some cool inclusions in here that I'm very and like for me it does make the cube feel unique, but yeah, I am personally like I am fine with this decision on the first iteration, and it's makes sense, especially if you're trying to like the people they're trying to appeal to is you and me, James, and like a lot of people listening to this who maybe haven't played Arena because or maybe haven't played Arena in a while because we're not that interested in Standard. Fair to say, like yeah. So, sorry, I rambled on for a bit there, James. But what are your thoughts on no Universes Beyond cards in this?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I wasn't like mad about having Lord of the Rings cards in Vintage Cube. You know, that's not the bit of Universes Beyond that annoys me when Universes Beyond annoys me. But equally, like Lord of the Rings has some cool cards, but there aren't any where I'm like, oh, I'm really going to miss that being in, you know? Like there's a lot of powerful stuff, you know, there's Bowman, there's One Ring, but these aren't I think specifically with that Lord of the Rings sets, because that is essentially a Modern Horizons set, right? In terms of the way it was designed.
It was straight into modern.
And those cards, because they're pushed to the extent of like they're aiming for modern playability, they tend to not be powerful in a cool build around way. They're often just sort of rate powerful, right? Like you don't need to build around a One Ring or a Bowman or anything. They're just like super high rate cards, which you put in your deck and they're great. And those cards to me are like it's good having some of them. You don't want the whole cube to just be synergy cards, but I think they're not like cards where I really miss the experience of playing with them because they're kind of just good cards you put in your deck,
No, exactly. That's fair. And also, I think this is something that they will play around. Like I don't like they have put effort into making this list as it is, but the cards are on Arena, and like it's not like if Lord of the Rings wasn't on Arena.
Yeah, the commander decks, which is what stuff like Forfailingus is from, and not on.
Right, that makes sense. Yes, yeah, and like stuff like Final Fantasy isn't in, even though Final Fantasy is on it. So like these are easy swaps. Like they can just like it's effectively changing a spreadsheet to add Sephiroth in. So it is stuff I think we will see in the future.
Yeah, for sure. I have one more question for you on the Universes Beyond thing. So we're missing a Bazaar of Baghdad cube. Is that because, do you think that is because they think Bazaar of Baghdad is bad, which it maybe is? Or is it because Arabian Nights is arguably a Universes Beyond set?
I don't like, I'm going to look at Scryfall because Scryfall does have a is Universes Beyond section. I know that technically, and I'm going by Scryfall here, so if I'm wrong, don't yell at me. The Dungeons and Dragons sets are Universes Beyond. So Minsk and Boo is technically Universes Beyond because it's Dungeons and Dragons, not Magic, technically.
Yeah, I feel like Wizards released some statements or something about that at some point and said it was like, we've decided it's not. And I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. They talk a lot of nonsense. But like obviously, I think, is Minsk and Boo from D&D? I don't know. I feel like, yeah. So yes, obviously that's in, and so they have D&D cards in. It's fine.
Bazaar of Baghdad is not coming up under my search of cards with the name Bazaar and cards from Universes Beyond. So canonically, Arabia is a Magic.
It's not a Magic plane, right?
It's public domain. It's fine. Don't worry about it. That's the bigger thing. But some other things that aren't in, and this is partly because they're not programmed onto Arena, I believe was their reason for them, is there's no Monarch or Initiative. From a gameplay point of view, I'm kind of fine with this. These are multiplayer mechanics. Arena isn't multiplayer. They have no reason to like have that in their design guide for it. Like Palace Jailer, I think is the only one I would actually miss, but like it's not the end of the world. There are other white 4-drops that we can run, which are fine. And having the Initiative not be there, I think, is also fine from a fun gameplay point of view. And also then you have to ban it in like all your timeless formats as well. So kind of fair.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that some of those cards are fun, but also if you've been drafting other cubes with them in, you've maybe had enough of them at this point. Like they do lead to sort of common play patterns, right? And it's also, I think, just a good thing to differentiate this cube a bit from like the Modo cube and stuff. Like I think you're aiming to have the same feel, but you don't want a carbon copy, right? And I think having stuff like not having all the Monarch cards is a good way to do that.
Yeah, I think that's quite reasonable. Some other things that aren't in before we jump into like the archetypes and packages and stuff is there's no real creature-based combos in this, so that there's no persist combo or twin. Again, I'm kind of fine with this. Like in the article, they specifically mention these, and it's the main reason they haven't included them. So there are two reasons why they haven't included them. One is a power level point of view, in that Kiji Twin doesn't really that much play in Vintage Cube anymore. And two, there is the actual implementation of them in Arena. On MitGo, you at least have the clock to, so like you have to, the game will end at some point. Whereas in Arena, if they put Kiki Jiki Twin combo on Arena, all it would be is people trying to make a YouTube video. I'm thinking of what I would do, actually. Trying to make a YouTube video of just like how many clicks can I do and how many tokens can I get. Why? Because like you are taking game actions, the game, like, I don't know if you'd rope out at that point, but like effectively it is an infinite combo, but it's in paper, it's like, here's my combo, do you concede? Cool. On a digital client, you have to actually go through the clicking, and that's probably a bit too much. And like for something that isn't there from a power level point of view, doesn't seem worth including. So them not including them, I think is fine. Like if Kiki Jiki Twin was like one of the best things still in Mitgo Vintage Cube, then I think they would have made the effort for it. But because it's not there, it's not like, it's a similar decision to Monica and Initiative. It's probably too problematic for like it being worth including, basically.
Yeah, it's a bit sad, but I don't think the twin stuff's very good anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it would be okay with the rope and stuff, but it certainly used to be true on Arena that normally it doesn't rope you while you're taking game actions, but then after a certain length of time in a turn, it would start to rope you. Which I don't know if that becomes an issue if you're trying to play a Storm deck or something. I suspect at a certain point it does. And that is a thing that Modo does a lot better, right? Because it's saying, in your Storm deck, your 4 turns before you went off were probably all really quick because you played a Ponder and passed. So it's fine that you then have a 10-minute turn, right? And Arena doesn't have that nuance. It doesn't have a match clock, right? It has a rope. So I'm hoping it's sort of, I imagine if you're doing like an easy Underworld Breach Brain Freeze kill, then there's plenty of time to get through it. But I imagine if it's a complicated Yawgmoth's Will, counting your mana, getting to just enough Storm, and I'm the pilot, then I might be struggling, you know?
But the fact that that is a possibility is on Arena is kind of awesome. Like, I can do this while I'm in the bath or like on a train, or you know what I mean? Like, it's like the fact that this is on mobile now is kind of, is awesome. Some other things we wanted to touch on is currently there is no alchemy cards in the cube. For those unaware, alchemy cards are like the arena only cards that have rules that can only exist in a digital format. So there's ones that kind of like generates a card from out of thin air into play or into your hand, or there's like, it can keep track of information through zones. So like there's like effects that kind of perpetually give a creature +1/+1 no matter where it goes in, like if it goes to the graveyard or your deck. These are things that kind of like don't really work in, or like there's an element of like trust in paper, so you can't enforce it, whereas on a digital format you can. Some of the cards are cool in Alchemy. A lot of them are kind of really annoying. There's like some like 6-sided cards which are just bollocks. When this first got spoiled, my message to you, James, was I sent you the article, said this looks rad, and then said they better not ruin it by putting alchemy cards in there. And they haven't, so that's cool. From my end anyway, I'm quite biased because I really don't like cards. And it's really put me off playing like Timeless or any kind of like Eternal formats on Arena, because you have to interact with them. So the fact that I don't have to interact with them in this list anyway, I'm very happy about. What are your thoughts, James? Yeah,
for sure. I do kind of agree. When Alchemy came out, I really sort of wanted to like them. I wanted to not be stereotypical, like enfranchised boomer magic player being boo hiss Alchemy cards. But there's just a lot of nonsense ones, and a lot of ones where there's so much information that isn't on the card, but you kind of still like it makes you go and look up the information, you know, and that's the worst play pattern.
There's like spellbook cards which like can cast like a multitude of different spells that you may or may not know, and it's just a lot of faffing around for just I don't want that. And like cube is complicated anyway. Powered cube is very complicated. You don't need that additional level of what does so and so's spell book do? How does this work?
Exactly. And it's so last time I tried to play the regular Arena Cube, I think it was maybe sort of like 10 or 15% alchemy cards, right? It's not the whole thing, but they're all very good. The ones that make it into that cube, so they're very sort of loud. It feels like it's more of the cube than it actually is. So yeah, I think it's on balance a pretty good decision. Like obviously they can make cubes with alchemy cards, like go ham. I think having it not be part of this cube when you're trying to get the experience of playing with a bunch of older cards, I think it would be a shame if it was all about lotusing out. So I was about to think of insert alchemy 4 drop. I don't know what any of these cards are called.
So like some of the very early ones, we thought we almost considered running in paper. Like there's Oracle of the Alpha, the one that puts the power 9 into your deck.
Is cool. To be
which
fair,
is rad.
That one's sick.
Yeah,
there was Key
cool.
to the Archive, but then which was I think it's like a Hedron Archive type deal. But you draft a card from the book, and then the book's all busted cards. And then I would just got to terms with what that did from when it had been out for. And then last time I went to play on the Arena Cube, they changed it. It just did a different thing. It was complete nonsense. That really wound me up, to be honest.
Exactly.
But yeah, there are the odd cool one. There was.
There's the lightning bolt one, which is kind of hot. Yeah. The one that adds lightning bolts to it. So that's the thing. I don't think it's that I'm against alchemy cards per se, but it's just the multitude of them. And it's I think this decision combined with Universes Beyond it's because they know that people like me effectively. I'm not going to put this on you, James. I'm going to say like me, don't like alchemy that much, and have become tired with the extent of Universes Beyond. I'm not anti Universes Beyond. I'm just tired at the extent of it and the fact I have to interact with it. And that's kind of my problem with Arenas. I have to interact with Universes Beyond without if I want to play it, and I have to interact with alchemy cards if I want to play certain formats. The fact that they have not made that a thing with this on the initial, my gut is that they will add some of these later, and if it's a sprinkling, then it's fine. If it's just a couple of cards here and there, it's fine, because Mitgo has that, they specifically mentioned the Mitgo Cube has Gleemax every now and then, that kind of stuff. It has cards that kind of only really see play in the Mitgo Vintage Cube. I'm fine with a sprinkling of cards in the Arena Cube or in the Arena Powered Cube if that's what they're doing. But if it's the next one has 40 alchemy cards, then that will change my opinions on it. But for the time being, I'm kind of quite high on this list.
Yeah, for sure. I think this looks cool. When you messaged me and said, "Oh, they're doing Powered Cube on Arena," I was sort of imagining it was going to be people lotusing out some alchemy cards, or just a bunch of powerful stuff from the last that's already on Arena plus power 9, right? And I looked up this night. Oh, it's really not that. It's Powered Cube with some differences, and that's cool.
Yeah. It really is powered, full Powered Cube, just without Universes Beyond.
Yeah. We've got pretty much most of the cool stuff you can do. A couple of misses which I think are would be cool to add at some point. There's no Oath of Druids at the moment. I feel like that was maybe it's hard to implement thing. Similarly, Doomsday. But outside of that, pretty much all the sort of iconic Powered Cube cards are here,
No, definitely. One card they have added in, we talked about on a recent episode that we both have a bit of a fond spot for, is Booster Tutor. That's incredibly hot. Booster Tutor is single black, instant, open a sealed Magic Booster Pack, reveal the cards, and put one of them into your hand. This is an uncard, but it is incredibly cool. Originally from Unhinged, and reprinted in Unsanctioned, which I think I might own, actually, which is kind of cool. Yeah, very, very cool card. In a Powered Cube, you're not going to get any misses. Very good. Anything to add a booster pack to a game of Magic is something that people like, and the Mitgo Cube doesn't have it. Arena Cube does. That's a way of making it unique, this kind of thing. I'm not saying add Cogwork Librarian to the next one, but I'm kind of saying add Cogwork Librarian. Just do it. That would be cool.
Yeah. Booster Tutor's a sick card. I'm really excited to draft the Storm deck where it's what's your win con? Booster Tutor. We'll find.
We'll find out.
You've got to believe. Yeah, no, but Boost Shooter's a sick card. And it's cool that they actually implemented it as well. I feel like this must have been a design challenge, from a client point of view. I feel like Hogwarts Librarian would be even more difficult because you're meant to draft it face up, right?
Oh, so everyone has to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's probably a reason why they can't. So yeah. Let's move over into archetypes and packages, but like we will touch on a few cards in here that there are some archetypes and packages where a very obvious card for a strategy isn't here, and they have given reasons why. We'll jump into those. But shockingly, in a cube, we have our aggro decks. We have mono red and we have mono white. They both look very well supported. There's plenty of aggressive 2/1s for 1 mana. Kind of, James, what stands out to you for both mono red and mono white in this cube?
Yeah, I actually think looking at the lists, the monocolor aggro might be a little bit more of a thing than it has been recently in Mythic Cube. In Mythic Cube, I mean, obviously you do still draft monocolor decks, but you tend up splashing a lot more, and you tend to be a little bit less around about 1-drops. Like especially mono red. It's just really not that much about paying red for a 2/1 anymore in Mythic Cube, right? And I think they're trying to push that a little bit here with, we've got stuff like Hired Claw, Kellen, Swift Spear, like that. There's enough where you can do something. And because we're missing things like Forfeilingus, right? That's like one less reason to go and be Boros.
We're also missing Athari, I'm assuming because of experience counters being a bit of a faff to program, actually.
Yeah, that checks out. Although we do have the Comet, which is not my favorite card in the world.
The fact that that's wild, I hate the card, but it is a very powerful card, and it's a reason to combine the colors. Yeah, I see what you mean about red. Kind of like it does seem to be doing stuff all up and down the curves. We have our aggressive 1-drops, but like there is every good red 3-drop in here: Bonecrusher Giant, Broadside, Detective's Phoenix, Rabblemaster, Gut, Lalia. Like they're all here, James. Like there is also an Ancient Tomb in this cube. Like chunky red seems pretty solid. I did spot some cards for you, James. I'm assuming you're very here for Parallax Wave making its way to Arena.
Oh, Parallax Wave is so sick. Parallax Wave is honestly, I feel like it took people way too long to start taking Parallax Wave appropriately. Parallax Wave is really like just below the power in where people are meant to be taking it. I feel like at this point, just because Cube has become so much more about creatures, right? And because the creatures are so powerful, games end. And Parallax Wave has an effect on the board that is like unrivaled for a couple of turns, right?
No, we are big fans of Parallax Wave on this podcast. But then a classic archetype that we've talked about being power crept out of higher power level cubes. Mono green is here in a pretty like it's all here. Like we have our Mana Dorks, we have Raphelos, we have Cradle, we have Natural Order, and we have Hoof. Hoof has come out of the Mitgo Vintage Cube in the last couple of months. But this is when I was talking earlier about like when you remove some of the Universes Beyond cards, effectively that they are kind of going back to more classic archetypes, I feel. So mono green being here, it is a thing people think about when they think about powered cube. So for the first iteration, I think it makes sense for it to be here. My gut is because everything else is still as powerful as it will be. I think mono green will have the issues that it normally has. But what do you think about mono green here, James? Like it does all look here, doesn't it?
Yes, they are certainly trying to make it a thing. I'm skeptical that you'll be monocolored very much. Like I doubt you're actually meant to put Raphelos in your deck that often. It doesn't mean that green is bad, but I still don't believe in mono green that much. But you know what? Like, I think you could do okay. You can. We talked about the queues will be a bit soft. If mono green's your thing, draft some mono green, you'll get some wins with it. But I doubt it's going to be like the most winning of archetypes. But yeah, no, they have lent into it. The one design criticism I have looking at the green cards they've added. So they've got all the 1 mana accelerants, right, including Utopia's Fall, the aura that you put on a forest and it taps for an extra color, an extra mana. if you're putting in Utopia Sprawl, I really want to have 1-mana elves be Arbor Elf, one that untaps with Forest, because that's such a sick combo. You go like turn 1 Arbor Elf, turn 2 Utopia Sprawl plus 4-drop on turn 2. Because you go Sprawl a Forest, tap it for 2 mana, untap it, tap it for 2 mana. Like, I really like having that little bit of synergy between your ramp pieces. I think that's really cool. So I feel like that's one I would add if I was tweaking this cube. But yeah, no, the green ramp stuff looks solid.
And then a very deep archetype in this cube, because it's a powered cube, blue X artifacts. I'm assuming it's going to be like a Grixis or like an Espery type of build, just because the fixing is quite good. But all of the stuff is here. We have stuff like Urza, Chromos Seed Shark, Kappa Cannoneer as our payoffs, and then all the dumb, broken artifacts that you get from a powered cube. Kind of, James, are there any that kind of stand out to you just from a power level point of view?
Yeah, this is basically all the busted stuff you'd expect. There's Academy and everything of it. Like they've gone as deep as putting in like the Candelabra to untap your Academy and the Expedition map to go and find it. So I think, yeah, Academy is definitely a card where if you see it early, you should take it and go for it, because this archetype is just on a different level when it has access to that Academy. It lets you do the most broken things, which you just aren't available to you otherwise. But yeah, outside that, the blue artifact stuff all looks great. I expect it to play really well, as it always does. You've got all the pieces you need here for sure. I like the Endstone as a new big artifact they've added. That's the one where it when you play a land or cast a spell, you draw a card, and at the beginning of your end step, your life total becomes half your starting life total. I think that card's cool. I don't know if it's actually good enough, but I do think it's cool, and I'm stoked to play with it. You know.
I think in this cube, like I think it makes sense, especially because it just came from the last set, so it's on Arena. And it is a big thing that you can tinker into play, because Tinker is here. Endstone maybe not it's a decent thing to tinker in, but we also have things like Portal to Phyrexia, Sundering Titan, Bolus Citadel. Yeah, Tinker is a hell of a Magic card, James. Like, are we looking forward to tinkering people on Arena?
Oh yeah, Tinker's sick. The Tinker is definitely in the category of the kids haven't seen this before, you know.
Hell yeah. In a similar vein, we have Flash, which is here, which is another, like, again, they are not holding back in terms of like Flash is here, and we have our payoffs. We have Worldspine Worm, we have things like Woodfall Primus, we have Triplicate Titan, some redundancy. Flash also looks pretty strong. Like, it's the full deck, it's all here.
Yeah, Flash is busted. Like, Flash is one of the it's one of the easiest ways to do something busted in these sorts of cubes. Like, other decks can do equally broken things, but Flash just needs you to have 2 cards in your hand, a Flash and a target, and 2 mana. That is all you need. And you can do it at instant speed, so it's really hard to, try and hold up counter magic for it or whatever, or, can get in there before the discard spells often. Flash is messed up. If you see it early, you take it. And it's worth speculating on the best Flash targets.
Yeah, very strong Magic card. Another way of cheating into things into play is the old classic Reanimator. The whole deck is here. Like, our targets are things like Archon, Grizzlebrand, and Atraxa Grand Unifier. They're all here. Like, those are the best payoffs for Reanimator. We have Reanimate, Persist, Animate Dead, Necromancy. Like, I think Life Death is in as well. Like, Entomb is in. Like, again, the whole package is there. If you want to play Reanimate, you really can. It's all there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you've got the tutors to go and find out. So we're you can, if Reanimator is open, it is you can build really messed up Reanimator decks in these cubes. I think honestly those are the when you have Reanimator all to yourself in these sorts of powered cubes, those are the decks that feel like just the easiest trophies you'll ever get, right? Like, you're just like not playing Magic on the same way, but people are. It's like, I appreciate that you put some creatures in your deck and some spells and tap some mana and all of that lovely stuff. But I'm just going to put an Aatroth into play on the second turn of every single game, and there's not that much you can do about it.
And just kill you. Yeah. No, exactly. Actually, a quick note on Reanimator is that all of the regular Reanimator stuff is in. However, none of the instant speed reanimation effects are in. So no Shallow Grave or the other one, or Corpse Dance. They're not in. Primarily, they're not in because they actually both care about Graveyard Orders matters, which is not something they are going to, they have the want to program into Arena, basically.
To be fair, that sounds like a great choice.
Yeah. Like it is something that, they could make it work, but again, the regular Reanimator effects are fine. Those are more like a flavored Reanimator, and you don't need them for the first drop. Again, they could come in the future, but at the moment, they're not.
Yeah, one for next year's hackathon, I guess.
Exactly. On the vein of doing broken stuff, which that's actually most of my notes for the next few minutes. Sneak and Show is in, Sneak Attack is in, Show and Tell is in. They use a lot of the same cards as Reanimator, but also we have Emrakul the Aeon's Torn and a bunch of other big Eldrazi. A note on this deck, similarly to instant speed reanimation effects, Through the Breach is not in, and that's because it also has the text Splice onto Arcane, which is another mechanic they're not programming onto Arena. Kind of reasonable.
Nah, I think this is nonsense, actually. So
what?
There aren't any
Weird
other
mechanic.
There aren't any other arcane spells in the cube.
Is Cultivate on Arena? No, Kadama's Reach.
No one's ever spiced that spell on Arcane. It's fine. Just is flavor text. Ignore it.
I guess you could. No, but in theory, if you play it in a format where there's multiples, even including one,
you
slice onto Arcane. It's
put it in the cube. Don't let people craft it.
Just build Eureka instead. That'd be more fun.
Eureka's dope. That's a fair point.
Let's do that. Eureka, I'm double checking.
It's not
pretty
in the
positive.
cube.
Is not in the cube. No, shame. We also have Channel though. You don't get Eureka, you do get Channel. Channel is incredibly messed up. Also, probably an easier card to program because it's just life becomes mana. That seems quite straightforward. We know Channel is a very dumb magic card. That's where the big Eldrazi come in. Looking pretty solid there. There's no big green. There's Pest Infestation and Green Sun Zenith, actually. So I guess that's how you can make that deck work. But that's pretty solid.
You've got the Eldrazi, right? And you've got...
Exactly.
You've got like Portal to Phyrexia. That stuff's all great to channel out.
Exactly. Let's jump into some more combo-y type stuff now. I was surprised when I saw this, but the Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, Brain Freeze combination is in here. That's incredibly messed up, James. This is the one that's going to kill the kids, basically. This is the one that's going to muck up all the new players. Is my hot take on this.
I feel like Storm's win rate. If you look at the stats for what people win with, I bet Storm's win rate in the first 3 weeks into this cube is going to be like 15%. People are all going to be like, "Oh, Storm! I've heard about how drafting Storm. We could draft Storm, and it's going to go really badly." But you've got to have Storm in. You've got to have Storm in. I think the problem is, right, if you don't include the Brain Freezy stuff, then all the combo stuff is just putting a giant creature into play, which is
exactly.
You need the Brain Freeze stuff, and I'm really glad it's here.
Yeah, so we do have the other part of the Storm package, the more traditional Dark Ritual, Seething Song into Gorgon's Will, into Tendrils. I think that has generally been power crept out of most powerful cubes, but it is cool. It is vibey, so I am glad they even. This is more, I think, where you're going with the look. I built a Storm deck. Why did I go like Oath 3 immediately? That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you have like actual Underworld Brain Freeze Diamond, then it's fine. You can. That honestly doesn't really feel like a Storm deck to me. Like, it obviously it is like you're literally winning the card that says Storm.
It's a 3-card combo, not a Storm deck.
Exactly.
Yeah. But keep the ball rolling. We have Displacer Kit and Coveted Jewel. That's a nice little combination. We have Nardu, with like lava spur boots, bristly bill kind of stuff. That's pretty hot. One nice one that you told me about for a while ago, but the Nissa who shakes the world and Springheart Nantuko combo. That's pretty rad. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah. That's a cool one. It's I think it's more like it's in as an accidental combo, right? Yes, I don't think exactly. You should build your deck and be like, right, I'm going to combo off this and shake Springheart Nantuko. But when it comes up, it's really sick, and I'm looking forward to the screenshot of when someone breaks
to me, this is the one that crashes the client on day one.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's also a very deep, very cool looking lands deck here. I touched on this, but James, I think you're going to be a fan of this one because again, it's all here, like fast bond, exploration to play extra lands. We have Strip Mine, Crucible of Worlds to do it again. We have Zuranorb and Titania to make a big board state. We have the Dark Depths, that spin stage, crop rotation stuff. We also have Ice Till Explorer, which is kind of hot. I think there's only 2 currently. Oh no! Damn, Ramonec. Okay, Ramonec Excavator is still in. So so there are 3 Crucible of World effects in here, which is pretty good for this lands deck. Again, this looks pretty optimal. James, would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of different ways to approach the deck, right? You can do the grindy Crucible, it'll strip mine you out stuff. You can do the fast bonds or infinite life, infinite mana stuff. That's great. You can do the dark depth stuff. One of the angles to a lands deck which I've really come up on is the Titania, sack all my lands, I have 20 power sort of thing, right? Where you just like have a Titania and you cash in your lands for power, and most people can't beat that. Lands is and like Springheart Nantuko, big game for that deck, right? Lands is a very fun archetype in these cubes. It's and it has a lot of overlap with the other green archetypes, right? Like lands and the land stuff and the Nadu stuff actually plays quite well together because you have all the landfall that trigger Nadu.
And and related to that as well, we also have the like domain 4+ maybe color deck. So along with the land stuff, we have like Omnath, Locus of Creation, Tribal Flames, which is kind of hot. Like Leyline Binding, Field of the Dead, and Golos. Like, that's a fun deck. I think it's not the most powerful, but it is cool. And with all the fixing, it might be better in this cube than we've seen it other places.
Yeah, I think the weird thing with the 4-color deck, right, is there's a bunch of cards which tell you they're for that deck, like the Tribal Flames and the Omnath and stuff. And you can play them in that deck and they will be fine, but they're actually not the reasons to get into that deck. The reasons to get into that deck are stuff like, it's just, I have busted cards in a wide variety of colors and I would like to play all of them. And then stuff like the Leyline Binding, the Tribal Flames are just sort of a nice bonus that you get for free, but you're not meant to be like, oh, look at this Omnath, I'm going to draft for most of the time.
No, that tracks. That makes sense. Another deck that is incredibly busted, and I think the majority of it is here, is the Wheels deck. So we have Time Twister, Wheel of Fortune, Echo of Eons. We have Time Spiral as well. Okay, let's go. And also we have Shieldred, Hullbreacher, Narset, Leovold as our payoffs. So no Bowmaster does hurt this deck a little bit, but Shieldred, Wheel of Fortune is still a perfectly solid way of winning a game of Magic.
Yeah, for sure. And it overlaps with the Storm stuff, right? Yeah, I like the Wheels deck. And honestly, like Bowman, obviously, like it would be better if there was Bowman in the cube, but the Wheels deck didn't actually get Bowman very often because it's such a busted card that everyone would take it and try and splash it. So it often didn't make its way to the Wheels player. So it's certainly not like essential for this deck to work and be very real, you know?
No, definitely that tracks. We also have what I think is kind of what Jund is doing, is like the Delirium deck. So we have it's like the Survival of the Fittest recurring nightmare into all of our Goyfs style of packages. I think this is kind of what Jund is doing. Like, we have a Grist. We don't have a Hogak, unfortunately. So I think this one's actually a little light. Like, there's no Vendrine. Maybe that's just me being me, but like, I think this deck is incredibly cool, but I think it is lacking a couple of key bits, personally, anyway.
Yeah, I always want them to put Hogak in because, like, you don't get to play it very often because it's quite narrow, but it's so cool to play it. And you look at these Golgari gold cards, it's like, I don't really know what a Mosswood Dread Knight is, but why is it here and why don't I have a Hogak?
Boring
exactly,
value.
it's just
That's
like,
what it is,
I card and then I had a 3/2. Like, fine. Where you drew a card and played a 3/2. That's all the other arena formats. Give me a Hogak, please.
I can see the thing with this kind of archetype specifically, where it does require a lot of unique bits. Like, they don't want to program Life from the Loam onto Arena or Dredge or anything like that. Like, I would like them to give us Dredge, you cowards. But yeah. Of all of them, I think this is the only archetype we've mentioned that's kind of a little bit not all the way there right now, anyway.
Yeah, I think it's always the challenge with this Greenback Graveyard deck in Powered Cube, right? They've tried to get it to work in Mitgo Cube a few times, and you can have good decks that come together and do some powerful stuff, but on aggregate, like the average Greenback Graveyard deck, is just really hard to make it strong enough to stand up to these other archetypes. It's kind of always the challenge with Powered Cube in general, but because the power level of the best archetypes is so high, there just aren't cards you can add to make a Jund Delirium deck as good as the blue artifacts deck, right? There are just too many busted cards in that blue artifacts deck, and the Jund Delirium cards, whilst they're cool and can do some interesting things, aren't able to stand up to it. You can't. Yeah, there's not like the Urza, the Tolarian Academy. These like really powerful build around cards just aren't there for graveyardy stuff as much, and often the best graveyard decks end up just being a more of the streamlined reanimator thing than a value-y survival thing. But the survival stuff is really cool, and I'm glad it's there, and it makes cubes way more replayable when there's that sort of niche archetype.
Like, if there's one card that I'm excited to see on Arena, is just Survival of the Fittest. Love that card. Glad it's here. That'll definitely open up some cool things anyway. We have a couple more to get through. Azorius Control, or like Esper Control, Grixis Control looks pretty good and all there. There is all the good removal spells, all the good counter magic, like Force of Will, like Mana Drain is here, James. Like, that seems pretty solid. Like you mentioned, Balance going to be a great way of pulling back some games. We have cards like Fractured Identity and Fallen Shinobi, along with Fire Covenant as well, which is great at killing things. Just the control deck does actually look pretty solid in this, to be honest with you. It's just got all the bits, and like if you can make the mana work, you can really take control of a game, I think.
Yeah, for sure. People probably don't need me to tell them all the powerful blue cards in a vintage cube. But Consult the Star Charts, I think, has been a really nice addition to this deck, which is maybe flying under some people's radars a little bit. That's the 1 and a blue, look at the top X cards of your library, where X number of lands you control, but you can kick it for an extra 1 and a blue. And you put 1 of them into your hand, but if you kicked it, you put 2 of them into your hand. So it's a nice sort of split card between sort of most of the time a better impulse, but then if you kick it, it's more of a even it feels like a dig through time most of the time when you kick it, because it's not turn 4 when you're kicking it, right? It's a bit later in the game, and you can see a lot of cards.
No, it seems really good. 2 last ones I wanted to touch on. We have like the Stoneforge Mystic package that seems pretty solid actually in that control deck that we just touched on. Like, Stoneforge is here with Batterskull and Cauldron Complete. That could be a nice little way of finishing a game in a white X deck. And like, I think there is sort of a Mardu Sacrificey deck here. Like, we have like Adeline, Lingering Souls, Goblin Rabble Master, Preacher of the Schism. We have like Yorgmoth and Goblin Bombardment. So there's ways of making creatures, and there's definitely like ways of sacrificing them. There's no like blood artist effect that I can see. That might be the only place that I think is a little weird, because it feels like we have the support for it, but none of the traditional payoffs, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just really hard to justify putting Blood Artist in your Vintage Cube deck, you know? It's kind of a tough way to do it. Yeah, it feels to me like this archetype they've sort of tried from time to time, and it's quite rarely good enough. Kind of Yorkmuth is the only card I'm really interested in trying to build around a little bit with the sacrificey stuff. This is an archetype I really like at just a slightly lower power level than this cube. But I think it does struggle a little bit when you get up to full blown powered cube like we're drafting here.
No, makes sense. So yeah, as we kind of gone over, that is a pretty damn good representation of a powered cube. Like, it has the majority of things that you would expect to find in a powered cube, which is fantastic. It's really good to see. The only thing so James kind of touched on earlier that there's no like Doomsday. There is one weird inclusion, actually. So there is a Jace Wielder of Mysteries in here. That's the 4-mana Jace that you can win the game if you have no cards in your library. But there's nothing to go with it. Like, there's no Doomsday, there's no Demonic Consultation, and there's no like Thassa's Oracle as some redundancy. That seems a little weird to me. Would you agree with that, James?
You're underestimating how many cards I'm going to draw.
Okay, I love that for you. But like,
yeah, it's a bit odd. So I mean, sometimes it's useful because you either it's you're playing a long game, or it's sometimes say you're playing the Brain Freeze deck, but they have an Eldrazi and you can't Brain Freeze them out, and Jace Wielder's a way you can win by Brain Freezing yourself. But yeah, it's a slightly odd inclusion. I don't think we really need it per se in this cube. And obviously, like as a Planeswalker, there are better 4-mana Planeswalkers they could include.
Yeah, it's just the fact that it's there on its own. With like, for me, it is a archetype specific card without an archetype being supported in it. But
yeah, but the one thing I don't love about cards like that, right, is if I was drafting this cube and I hadn't seen the list, then when I saw Jace Wielder, I would assume there was a Doomsday or something to do with it, and there really isn't.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, it is a trap, effectively. I think is the best way to describe it. Nice. The only other major non-include, which I think is fair, is there's no Time Vault stuff in this. I think that's probably more from a power level point of view, because Time Vault is really, really top tier. But overall, James, what do you think of this list? Like, this is the first time we're seeing a powered cube on Arena. Taking a step back, we've looked at the archetypes, taking a step back and looking at the whole thing. What are your thoughts? Are you happy with that?
Yeah, I think it's really cool because it's going to bring this sort of cubing to a really, really wide audience. An audience where a lot of people just won't have encountered a bunch of these cards before. So I think it's gonna be really good for that. And I like the list they've come up with as well. I think it will feel like Powered Cube as we know it. It's not like revolutionary in any way, but it captures the feel they were going for, I think, really well. It will be cool to play it on something that doesn't resemble a spreadsheet,
So
that's nice.
So hyped for that. So just keeping it on the list, I don't think this is the perfect list to get me to reinstall Arena and play it. I don't think they could have done a better job. Like the odd card here or there, is a minor complaint, but I don't think they could have done a better job of making a list designed to get specifically me onto Arena to give them money. I think they have nailed that aspect of things. And like I do think that it is a choice that they have made to not have Universes Beyond in the first one of this, and to not have the cards, or like specifically, they have made more work for themselves. They've had to they've had to import more cards and make new cards from scratch, rather than use Universes Beyond cards that they already have and alchemy cards that they already have. They have made more work for themselves, but I think it's worth it. Like, my biggest fear, and this is a really weird complaint, is that this is the peak and they screw it up from here. That is my biggest fear with this. And like, that's a weird position to be in, because it's more my worries with the company, shall we say. But like, as a product, I am so hyped for this. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very cool. When you said, oh, they're putting Powered Cube on Arena, I thought it wasn't going to be this. I thought it was going to be them adding the Power 9 to a bunch of broken alchemy cards. And I'm really psyched that it is this that we're getting. And I think it's really cool that they're putting it on Arena, and a bunch of new people are going to get to play it.
100%. The last thing I want to ask you today, James, before we finish up, is what do you think the effect of this cube is going to have on the Modo Vintage Cube, the one that's like old faithful, as it were, the one that people have been drafting up until now, because they are kind of taking their audience away from themselves. Overall, I think it's a net positive, because it will bring more people into it. Like, it's going to bring me, actually, because like, I love Cube. We host a podcast about Cube, but I hate Mitgo so much that I don't play it. Because I live in 2025. Why am I interacting with like a interface from like my childhood? Like, I've confused myself with my anger about Mitgo. But like
Red Mist has descended.
So for people like me, it's awesome that this is now a thing. But like James, like you play a lot of Modo Vintage Cube. Like how is like obviously that cube is now up a lot more than it used to be, and this cube I think is only going to be up like once every like couple of months, as it were. Kind of like, what do you like? Obviously, it hasn't even come out yet. It comes out next week. But like, what do you anticipate your patterns of play to be on this?
Yeah, so I play a lot less of a Modo Vintage Cube than I used to, actually. I think a non-zero amount of that is that it's up all the time now, and there was a point where it was kind of an event when it was up, and it would be up for 3 weeks, and that was cool.
It was the holiday cube. Like for me, Christmas is
exactly
cubing.
Yeah, and then I would jam for that 3 weeks, and now it's up all the time. And then I sort of played myself out on it a while ago, and I'll jump on Discord and do a cube from time to time, but I'm not like jamming in the same way as I was at a certain point. Obviously, I think if you're looking at this from Daybreak Games' point of view, who are the people who run Mitgo, it's not a positive for them, but I don't think it's a huge deal, because this is going to be up for 3 weeks, and they have cube up basically all the time at this point. So I think most of the people who cube on Mitgo, they might hop over to Arena for a bit while cube is up, but they'll be back to Mitgo, and that's fine. I was about to say that maybe this gets new people into Vintage Cube and then they go and play on Mitgo, but I don't think that's true. I don't believe that.
They won't.
They might download it and be like, oh, maybe this will be good. And then they'll use it for an hour and then they'll log off and never come back.
Yeah, like it won't be 0 people that transfer over, but it's not going to be a lot of people that transfer over, just because of the limitations of Mitgo. But like Mitgo does have advantages over Arena. Like I do think the ecosystem is better in Mitgo. Like it's more of a direct currency thing. Like yes, you can in theory grind for points for Arena, but like it does have that premium currency loot boxy type thing that kind of as a Mitgo is more like paper, is more like a digital version of Paper Magic. Arena is like a premium game, if that makes sense. they are different in that aspect. So they both have their negatives and their positives. And like one thing that MitGo does have is that it has all the cards. The Arena Cube has these cards and everything else on Arena. The MitGo Vintage Cube has all the so like it can adapt to like packages and style changes. So like say there's a Modern Horizon set. Like yes, both platforms, Arena and MitGo, will get the Modern Horizon sets. But if like it pulls out a new archetype and then a card from 20 years ago suddenly really synergizes and combos off with a card, MitGo will have that immediately because it's already there. Arena won't. So there is a world where kind of like the MitGo Cube has already been kind of experimenting more with different packages and archetypes, and I think that's going to actually push them to do more, which I think ultimately, if that breeds innovation and gives us more cool stuff to look at, then I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah, for sure. I think MitGo and Arena are attempting to do fundamentally very different things, right? Like Arena is meant to be a standalone game. It's a fun, good user experience, and if you had never played Paper Magic, you might want to come play Arena still, right? Magic Online is not that. Magic Online is this paper card game that I play a couple of times a month with my friends. I'm really into that, and I would like to be able to play it more often, and I would like to be able to play it online without leaving my house, and I'm very committed to that, so I don't really care if it doesn't look very nice. The thing I care about is that I can play my favorite format with my favorite cards, and they're all there. And in that respect, I think Magic Online actually does its job pretty well. It is a good version of what it is, but what it is just not for everyone, and I think that's okay. And to be honest, it's probably, I don't imagine their user base has much potential to expand, really. I think there are a bunch of people who play it because they like to play Modern or Legacy or Vintage or Cube. Or the other thing I like about MitGo, you can draft other cubes because you can just draft on Draftmancer and draft whatever cube you want. Basically every card in Magic is available on MitGo. You can remember cards and you can play some games, and that's really cool. There's no scope to do anything like that on Arena, right? It's a fundamentally very different thing. So I think there's plenty of room for both those programs to coexist and serve their user bases pretty well.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I think this is going to bring more people into playing Cube. So that's just generally an awesome thing. So yeah, I think from my end, I'm super hype. Again, so if you're listening to this the day this podcast comes out, which will be Sunday evening, it's Tuesday. It's 2 days away. So yeah, I'm going to be updating my Arena client on Monday. I'm going to be making some videos on it. I'm going to be playing it and enjoying it, and I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome.
That's sick. That's cool. Yeah. I don't think I've very rarely seen you play Magic on the internet of any sort, so that's cool. They've pulled you back in.
This one I can play on my phone while watching TV. I can misplay. I can misplay while being distracted by the television. Love that. All right. That's going to do it for today. James, pleasure, man. I thought that was a really good chat, and I'm very excited for the next couple of weeks. Should be fun.
Nice, yeah, always a pleasure.
Awesome, and we will touch base in a couple of weeks once we've got our hands on the cube, give our thoughts, do a bit more of a level up. So to be notified when that comes out, do make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the podcast a like, give us a 5-star review, tell a friend, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Whatever your podcasting platform allows you to do, please do it. Greatly helps us out. Until next time, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from James, and we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.